Dorset, where everyone has access to affordable local food and there are no diet-related diseases, would have a fundamentally different food structure to the one that we have at the moment. We would have much more local ownership of food and retailing and much less dominance by large multinational producers and retailers. My group also were very keen to stress that in order for that to happen, we would have a lot of education and a lot of local growing schemes, such as allotments and growing in schools. Really, though, I think that a complete change in culture amongst decision makers would be required for that to happen, for us to be able to see that fundamental change that we're talking about. The three main areas that they felt we needed to concentrate on was working with local councillors in so far as they could have control over planning. So people were very keen that planning permission was not given to supermarkets or fast food outlets in critical places, so that enabled a local food network to develop much more fundamentally. But also that councils also have control over local funds and they can set preferential business rates and things like that. So local councils was a big issue for us. Education, in a very, very general sense, was another one for us. People were very mixed about whether they felt it was more important that it was from the top to the bottom, it was all over. So generally, but very much fundamentally included local voluntary organisations getting involved. They were very clear about that, but I think that probably reflected the expertise of the people in the room. The number one priority was lead by example. So people felt unwilling to specify a particular point because they felt that all of the different aspects of what we had looked at, one of the other areas was public procurement, which was very important. They didn't feel that there was one specific thing we could go away today and say that's what we've got to aim for. The only thing that they could agree that was okay is that we should lead by example, which wasn't really what we had discussed throughout. Health and Local Food for Families, otherwise known as HALF, is a charity which was set up to help people to learn about food, nutrition and growing food. So we run a fruit and vegetable shop in which we stock local and organic fruit and veg, as well as other fruit and vegetables, which we sell at very reasonably priced. We run an awful lot of cooking demonstrations and cooking courses for people throughout the life course. So we run some for pregnant women, we run them for parents of young children, which includes parenting skills and teaching them about the link between food, health, growing and health and being outside, and generally talking more holistically about the importance of food in their children's lives. We run a lot of sessions in very deprived council estates in Devon with kids from about the age of 12 to 18, many of whom have been excluded from school and things like that. We use food as a medium to help them to learn other skills, just general life skills, getting on with each other and working together, but also learning very fundamentally about food, nutrition and growing where possible. We run a lot of sessions for people with heart disease, type 2 diabetes and other diet-related illnesses that is teaching them about cooking and nutrition and how they can improve their diets to improve their health. And a few other things in between, but that's basically what we do. I think that we've got to engage local government and decision makers much, much more in Devon, which is where I work primarily. There appears to be a disconnect between food and health. Doctors do not recognise as food being related to health. Counsellors don't recognise food being related to health. So in my book, unless counsellors and the medical profession and anybody who works peripheral to the medical profession, so all sorts of nurses and everybody, physiotherapists, people that see people who have weight problems all the time, unless they really can understand the fundamental difference that good food makes to people's health, then we've got a real problem. So that's where I would start to work. I suppose I've only been working in this intent for 10 years, so I can't compare it to what things were like 20 years ago. Within the 10 years that I've been working in this, I think there's a hugely increased awareness about specific problems such as obesity. I think that, however, it is a very, very confined space that awareness has been, it hasn't filtered out really. People have a sort of superficial awareness about it, but it hasn't fundamentally got through the layers of behaviour change. So has much been achieved? I think there are some amazingly good projects around, but most of them are very local. I think that not much has been achieved otherwise, no. Dorset, it appears, has a lot of really good food culture, but actually the impact on health and work with communities, which seems to be very, very dependent on individuals in individual places rather than any coherent policy that I could see anyway.
I thought very careful serious forensic because it's only partly frivolous because he's come back. Other people have made a comeback for him without.